All year round, Frontier Home Products and Design has what you need to make your home comfortable and beautiful. Relax on a new timber tech deck designed by Frontier's experts. A new fireplace from Frontier Home Products Fireplace Gallery adds warmth and serenity to any home. Beauty and versatility at Frontier Home Products and Design Center, 4213 Peachtree, East 5th, next to the Bayfront Highway.
Frontier Home Products and Design Center. Discover a new frontier.
PA contractor number PA039007.
From baggage claim to pajamas in 10 minutes. Erie International Airport. Fly with ERI.com.
Fly Erie International Airport to Charlotte on American Airlines, your nonstop gateway to the world. Also, we have Breeze Airways flying nonstop to Orlando and Tampa, Florida. A great low-cost carrier providing excellent service to the regional community. Fly Erie International for your travel needs.
Fly with ERI.com.
Welcome to TalkErie.com's Joel Natale Show, Erie, Pennsylvania's daily podcast. Every day, we tackle the biggest issues that the Erie, PA region faces. Stay informed and involved as we advance the narrative of Erie. Now, here's Joel Natale.
Being a 36-year veteran of working for nonprofits, I know the impact of economically of the nonprofit sector, and here to discuss that and celebrate Nonprofits Week, Adam Bratton. He's the executive director of the Nonprofit Partnership. Adam, good to see you, sir.
Thanks, Joel. Thanks for having me.
All righty. Okay, so I got 36 years. How many years you got in?
I don't meet too many people who have more years than me. I have about 30 years.
Good for you.
Yeah.
It's it's 3 jobs.
Really?
Inspiration Time, WCTL for 14 years from 1990.
Right.
And then I went to go work for McLean Church again.
Right.
And then back at Inspiration Time for this gig. So 36 years.
Yeah.
And you know what? I raised my kids.
Right.
I was able to send them to college.
Right.
I don't, I think I'm doing okay.
Well, and that's what some people don't realize about the nonprofit sector. We think of it in kind of like it's these small little charities that take care of little stray cats and things like that. We don't think it's a significant sector that really supports our entire society. We are the social safety net, and that takes professionals like you and me and others serving in the sector, and our one of our goals at the partnership is to increase that professionalism so folks are better at their jobs, more efficient, more effective, and have the support that they need.
I think the beauty of the sector is that you can be that mom pop, $25,000 a year,
sure,
just making something happen in your community. Or you could be, a major medical system.
Sure, sure.
Hospital system.
And that's the beauty of it, and that's also a challenge,
sure,
because you have such diversity in the sector. So, yeah, you have those organizations locally that do great work, grassroots, all volunteer, small budgets. Maybe they're focused on specific projects or a specific time of year or a specific thing, and then you have enterprises like UPMC or St. Vincent's that are just very large systems, but they are nonprofits.
I don't mean to get political at all,
sure,
but I would like to change or at least correct some misinformation out there.
Right.
If you're a nonprofit, if you are recognized 501c3 by the federal government, there's nobody making a profit at the end of the day. Is that right? Explain that to the listener.
Sure. So, nonprofits are businesses. They have a different tax designation. So, yes, at the end of the day, there is no owner. There are no shareholders. There's nobody that, takes the revenue above expenses and just
there's no
divvies
cut.
that. There's no cut.
Yeah.
Certainly there's people like you and me and others that are compensated in the nonprofit sector to do our work, but there's no ownership. The public owns our nonprofits. They're represented by boards of directors, And so there's no there is no profit in that way. Now, of course, we have to make more money, so we have to make more revenue than we expend.
Sure.
So there's a surplus or a profit, if you want to say that, but the money always goes back into the organization and the mission.
Yeah, if you don't have a fund balance, you may not be in existence in a few years.
You're not going to be anything.
Yeah, you have to have a fund balance,
Right.
And that's what they might call, quote, a profit. It's just net
Right.
of all the
and so we do
expenses.
have people that, again, are paid, but how we get paid, especially at executive level and that sort of thing, is very closely scrutinized. There's rules. The IRS has rules as to how compensation is set, and and so it's pretty compared to just any other private business, which a nonprofit is, a private business. Compared to other private businesses, there's a lot of scrutiny.
You guys have a number of like how many folks are employed in the nonprofit sector in Erie County, right? I mean,
Yeah. So in the Erie region, about 19% of private employment is in the nonprofit sector. So it's over 20,000 people. It's and it's a significant representation. A lot of the largest employers in Erie are nonprofit organizations. So we think of the hospital systems and the child care systems and the colleges and universities, all nonprofits, have a significant impact on the health of our society. But they also, as you said in the beginning, have a significant economic impact on the health of our community.
yeah, and again, that you could have let's say a professor, of science or physics or something like that, making easily six figures or deep into six figures, and you could also in the same place have somebody that's making about $15 an hour,
Right.
And the whole gambit. Those are all employed by that nonprofit.
Sure. And but the number of employees and the revenue that's generated within the nonprofit sector in the area and nationally is significant. We're the third largest sector nationally, just behind retail and food and beverage. So we're a larger sector than manufacturing. And so it has a significant impact on, our financial health has a significant impact on the financial health of our communities.
It's interesting because I asked you this at KeyCon, at the Keystone Nonprofit Conference, just a month ago, about where we were with the work shortage or surplus. And although it's not as much of a crisis, we're still short workers, aren't we?
Sure. Yeah, and I don't think that's unique to the nonprofit sector. It's just amplified a bit with the nonprofit sector because we have have been traditionally limited in how we can compensate people, the kind of benefits, the kind of investments we can make in staff. Those historically have been limited. So when the entire workforce kind of constricts, we constrict even more. So it's a challenge, and that's one of the things we're hoping to address with one of our events in the upcoming week.
Okay. All right. So it's Celebrate Nonprofits Week. What's the background? What are you hoping to accomplish?
Yeah. So we established this about 7 years ago. Within the last decade, we, went through a strategic planning process and recognized that the nonprofit sector really is not celebrated or recognized for the incredible work that it does. Nonprofits don't do a great job of doing that themselves. They're so busy doing the work, doing the good work. They don't spend money, obviously, promoting themselves or the sector in really effective ways. And so we said, well, we need to step up as a representative of the sector to do a better job in that way. We looked for national celebrations. There's Small Business Week, things like that,
Sure,
that recognize different sectors. There is no national celebration for the nonprofit sector. So we said, well, we'll just create it ourselves. And I think we're in the 7th year now of Celebrate Nonprofits Week. We've done a number of activities throughout the 7 years. But our goal ultimately is to recognize the value of the sector, help the public recognize the values of the sector, and help our nonprofits celebrate themselves and the people that work within their organizations.
We do this week. We have this celebration, and then in 6 to 8 weeks, we're going to have Erie Gives. It's almost like people put their money where their mouth is. They celebrate with their words, and then they celebrate with their cash.
We hope, yeah.
We hope, right?
And they've done it. They've done a great job.
It's incredible.
It's been incredible. I spoke to somebody at the state level today that they're just blown away with the amount of money that's raised in Erie. They're just like, nobody else raises that kind of money on their giving day, 11 million plus last year. And so it's we're thrilled to be a part of that and help our Erie Community Foundation and support them in that work. But it's a good lead in, and we do a lot of reminders during Celebrate Nonprofits Week of you want to thank your nonprofit, remember them on Erie Gives Day.
Yeah, it's remarkable, and it almost, I feel like, has unleashed something about generosity and philanthropy.
Yep.
And it's interesting that how you say that it's really hard for, again, we just talked about the range of the types of nonprofits. It's very difficult for a nonprofit to kind of step outside themselves doing the service to promote or even to explain the financial needs sometimes.
Right. Oh, yeah. And it's, in the nonprofit sector, we haven't had those national groups that do that for us.
Yeah.
The business sector, maybe Chamber of Commerce, obviously well recognized in those areas, and different groups have national. We don't have that. And,
I feel like St. Jude's does a really good job in and of themselves, right? There's a couple of...
They do a good job promoting St. Jude's.
Yes, they do.
But promoting the sector as a whole and the value of the nonprofit sector and what it means, and it's quite unique in what it means in American society, and so it's there's this balance between just doing the work, promoting yourselves, and then also participating in this promotion of the sector and the importance of the sector, because that has trickle down effects when people realize the importance of the sector to the work that happens day to day.
I'm going to step into a little dicey subject here.
Sure.
I think we talked about it a little bit at KeyCon about the federal funding has greatly impacted the nonprofits, especially those that were kind of depending on fee for service. Mm-hmm. We also have a scenario going on where things like Medicaid the eligibility is shrunk. Mm-hmm. And so you got issues that way where people are paying out of pocket for something that would have been covered by Medicaid. Also, you have situations where you have governments, especially municipal governments, like the city is, city's in a world of hurt right now.
Right.
But we want to make sure our city's improving, so we have nonprofits that maybe specialize in home improvement, or
right.
There's like this convergence of need right now.
Yeah.
That is affecting the nonprofits and the people that receive.
It's interesting. Anytime there's problems in our society, whether it's a recession or war or
pandemic
or pandemic, anything like that, everything constricts. Everything, there's less money, less resources, less support at the governmental level, but the nonprofits work expands. So when there's a recession, our food banks see a big influx of need. When there's things like that it's interesting. Whereas if you have a private business, your what you do restricts along with what's happening in society.
Well, and if the private business is restricting, oftentimes people are laid off, and then they're in need of services.
Exactly, and so our stuff doesn't restrict. Our work doesn't restrict. Yes. It just grows. Yeah. And we've always been very resilient in the nonprofit sector, but there is a balance, and there's only so much that nonprofits can do without the support of the community, without governmental support. That's maybe a something that people don't quite understand, is that these are kind of broad strokes.
Sure.
The government pays the nonprofits to basically provide that social safety net. So when we talk about our government providing a social safety net, it's really contracting with the nonprofits to do that. So we have to be careful with how we look at the nonprofit sector, how we support it, and what happens at that governmental level, because the nonprofits can't do it without government support, can't do it without private foundation support, donor support. And so, we are a compassionate and charitable community in the United States. We take care of the people who need it the most, and that care is provided often by the nonprofit sector. We have to make sure that remains healthy.
Yeah. And again, Nonprofit Week is coming up. Let's talk about some of the events of the week here.
Sure.
And especially this big Excellence Award event you're having here.
Right. So the week goes from Monday to Friday. Really,
next Monday, right?
Yes, June 22nd through June 26th. More information can be found on celebratenonprofits.com. That's the web hub for the week. But we have two primary events, even though we encourage activities and nonprofit and organizations do things throughout the week. We host, at least this year, two primary events. One is our Nonprofit Excellence Awards. So we are also in the, I believe, the 7th year of that awards program. We recognize the award winners every Celebrate Nonprofits Week, and that'll happen at 1020 Collective here in Erie on Tuesday from 9 to 11. So if people want to come, there's still the ability through June 18th to register, purchase a ticket. But it's our chance to really recognize the amazing work of individuals and organizations in our community that are doing great work.
That's amazing. Let's talk about some of these. Sure. Like the nonprofit of the year is the Crawford County Mental Health Awareness Program, CHAPS. Yeah,
CHAPS is great. If you're in Meadville and in Crawford, CHAPS. They do great work, often without a lot of fanfare. And all these categories, especially that one. Multiple nominations, really hard to choose one. We have committees that do that work. Okay. We don't even, the staff of the partnership don't even choose them. We have committees that help us with that. CHAPS won the Nonprofit of the Year this year, and couldn't be thrilled that one of our partners down in Meadville won it.
Neat. Yeah. Sarah Reed Children's Center, Best Place to Work.
Yep.
They had to be nominated, I imagine, from one of their employees, right?
Yes, and it's a pretty rigorous application. We measure a lot of things that they have to answer, and look at a number of things. And again, not an easy choice. A lot of good options there.
They're basically a behavioral health.
Yes,
for kids?
For kids, yep. And they do a lot of great work. Again, a well-known name in Erie, but I think one of those that just does it well. But obviously, treats their employees well and does their best to make it a great place to work.
I want to honor our friend Dr. Matthew Plotz, the CEO of the year, Corey High Ed Council. Yeah. That's super cool.
That is super cool. So, Matthew or Dr. Plotz, he's been a great resource for Corey Higher Ed since he started down there. He engages with us on a regular basis. Always eager to make connections, learn more about how they can do their work better, how he can do his work better. So one of those leaders that really is in this constant self-improvement mode that we love to see, because no matter what, there's always something that you can learn, and he really recognizes that, and that's I think reflected through his work with Corey Higher Ed.
Well, and that's that corner of Erie County again has challenges, but also an asset like the Corey High Ed is just so important in having education advance those young people down there. That's super cool. Also affiliated with the Corey High Ed, yet winning for her work with autism is Catherine DiVittorio, the Young Professional of the Year.
Yeah, that's great to see, and again, a representative of partners in Corey. We established the Young Professional Award a few years back, and it's just every time you read these nominations, you're just like, it's amazing just to see the kind of and quality of people that are in the sector, that are entering into the sector, that are going to have a huge impact on our sector and our society and our community, and Kat's one of those.
Ann Bucheri is the Volunteer of the Year. She works with Because You Care. I see her every year for the Cycle Fest, and she's always got a rescue dog with her or some kind of a foster pet, right?
Right. Yeah, there's the volunteers that people don't realize the impact of the volunteers. That's important for Ann, and also our governance award.
Yes.
The next one, Jim Orn.
Yes.
They make our sector go, and not only are at the board level are they the ultimate decision makers in our nonprofit sector. I answer. I'm the executive director of an organization. I answer to a board of directors.
Yeah.
But they also contribute significant amounts of time and money in support of our nonprofits, and volunteers like Ann and Jim do exactly that.
Yeah, Jim Orrin, representing the Presbyterian Senior Care Network with the Bratton Award in Nonprofit Governance.
Yep.
I'm not sure I know a board that Jim hasn't been on.
Right.
I mean, again, I met him through the United Way, through other connections. Amazing local. When we say civic leader, I think of Jim Orrin. You know?
And I think a lot of people do. And it was funny looking at his. Not funny. It was great looking at his nomination and just subsequent conversations. We had one a week ago on set. Like, who do we need to make sure knows that he won this award? And the list was kind of endless. We're like, okay, well,
we're going to invite all of his friends.
We're going to invite everybody. Yeah, because he, like you said, he has served in so many capacities.
Amazing. All right, we're talking to Adam Bratton. It is Celebrate Nonprofits Week next week, the 22nd through the 26th.
Get paid to drive. Start a new career behind the wheel at the EMTA. If you are looking for a high-paying and rewarding career with full benefits and paid training, stop by or apply online today with the EMTA. Plus, EMTA riders can now enjoy free Wi-Fi on new, clean, and environmentally friendly buses to travel all over Erie County. Visit ridethee.com for more information.
Get on board EMTA. Get on board EMTA. Get
At Quickfill, what matters most is that our customers, our communities, and our heroes are taken care of. We start by providing American-made gasoline, which means you can buy local, keeping America and your communities strong. We also support vital charities every year and hold Operation Give Thanks each November to help provide a better future for our veterans and their families. We're proud to support the communities we live and work in, and we're doing our best every day to make our towns a better place. Quickfill, driving America.
Looking for amazing finds and incredible deals? Visit Erie City Mission Thrift today. From stylish clothes and shoes to quality furniture and home goods, you'll discover something new each time while changing lives right here in Erie. It's shopping that feels good and does good. Come see us in Erie and Girard. Erie City Mission Thrift. Thrift with a purpose.
Adam, we talked about the Excellence Awards, but you also have another major event that y'all are doing that really can include some folks that really might want to dive into the nonprofit world,
Yeah, so on Thursday of next week, June 25, from 10 to 2 in the Gannon University Yale Ballroom, we're having our first ever nonprofit career, volunteer, and board service fair. So it's one thing we recognize and we know from the data and from our own surveying of our nonprofits is that, as you mentioned earlier, recruitment, retention of employees is incredibly difficult. And so we're trying to test out new and different ways to encourage folks to enter into the nonprofit sector, to help our nonprofits fill those gaps where they have them. And so developing this career and volunteer and board service fair is one of those steps that hopefully will be successful this year and we'll take further. And it's not just for people who want to work in the sector. That's certainly a component of whoever should come. And it is open to the public. It's free. And there's going to be 30 plus nonprofit organizations in attendance there, talking about work with those organizations. But it's open to, young adults seeking employment, retired folks seeking volunteer opportunities, people in the workforce who are looking for board leadership opportunities. So it's really open to anyone who's interested in working within the nonprofit sector, either as an employee or as a volunteer. That's the gist of why our nonprofits are showing up that day, and they'll get a lot of information about how they can participate, whether it's as, like I said, as an employee or a volunteer.
Now I would imagine you're getting a range of folks that will be exhibiting or talking to folks. Talk a little bit about that.
Yep. Well, like you said, it's a range.
Yeah.
You all are going to be joining us. It's groups like the Erie City Mission, Sarah Reed Children's Center, Mercy Center for Women, Stairways to Behavioral Health, Erie Bird Observatory. So it's a real diverse group of nonprofits that represent, again, a significant portion of our workforce and our employment sector here in Erie. And so if especially if you're interested in pursuing a career in the nonprofit sector, if you just graduated college this last month, whatever it might be, come down to the Gannon University Yale Ballroom on next Thursday, 25th, 10 to 2, and be plenty of organizations to talk to there.
You mentioned boards, and I'd like to, again, this is one of your specialties as a governance expert. How do you get more young people involved with boards, or is that even appropriate?
Oh, sure. It's definitely appropriate. When we talk about the need for diversity in governance, which we do quite often, it's not just diversity of skin color or ethnic group. It's diversity in a whole range. And one of those diverse aspects that we like to see is our younger folks serving on our board of directors for a number of reasons, but especially if that organization in part serves a younger population. We want our boards to reflect the people that we serve. And so if we have an organization that serves young families, college age students, whatever it might be, we want young people on our board of directors because we want their perspective at that age. One of the ways we can encourage that is just to be more open to those individuals, to encourage them when they do join our boards, to give them a voice on our boards, and create an environment that is inquisitive, open, willing to kind of learn and challenge each other.
When you talk about the board culture, like I always get nervous about things like groupthink,
right,
and so on.
Right.
I mean, there are actual learnable skills.
Oh yeah.
Especially in the board leadership that they can employ to kind of make sure that there's a diversity of thought, that we're not, running a bulldozer over the staff or the executive director. Talk about a little bit about that.
Yeah, culture is incredibly important, especially at the board level, and usually organizational culture starts at the board level.
Okay. Yeah.
How your board behaves is often how your organization and your staff will behave. So if you don't set it right at the top, it's really hard to get it right when you're talking about the people on the ground. And a lot of that has to do with leadership. So having a really good board leadership, your board chair, the chairs of your committees, who kind of put those guardrails up to make sure that the board doesn't veer into operational or staff work, or to encourage board members to share and to limit those board members maybe overshare sometimes. You know, that all takes leadership. And the groupthink can be a real problem. And there's certain, like you said, there's learned skills that boards can employ. You know, having folks, and I advocate this when I do board training, having somebody in a meeting and their only job is really to argue the counterpoint, you know, to say, have we thought about this?
That's interesting.
Yeah, and
but see, sometimes I've seen a scenario where that guy's pegged as, okay, he's the naysayer.
Well, not just having somebody do it somebody different every meeting.
Okay.
You know? Yeah, you'll have your naysayers. but just so, especially if it's a board that is very congenial, that gets along, that, you know,
like a healthy board,
right? And then you notice, okay, well, maybe we're not having the discussions we should have. That's where a leader should say, okay, you know, Bob or Sue, you know, why don't you just argue the counterpoint today to these points, and it just generates maybe a little bit more discussion. You might come up with the same decision, but maybe you're having a little bit more thoughtful discussion about it.
That's really, really brilliant, honestly.
Yeah.
Do you have, again, I don't want to get into total inside baseball about boards, but again, 36 years, right? Do you have like a preferred size of a board, or does it really depend on the size of the organization?
It depends on really the scope of the organization, the scope of the board's work. So, you know, board work really should be done at the committee level for most boards. So you need to have a large enough board to have functional committees. Now, how many committees do we need? Well, that depends on the kind of scope of the organization, you know. And so that kind of determines everything. You know, you want to have enough boards where there is that diversity of thought and opinion, that people feel comfortable sharing, that it's not, you know, a 5 or 6 person board where it's just very, very tight. But there really is no kind of you know, recommended number. Usually if I'm talking to an organization and I look at their organizational structure and their complexity, I can usually kind of advise them on what might be best for them, but it really depends on the complexity of the organization.
Are we out of the realm where we used to have the 50 and 60 person boards?
We are, yes.
That's long gone, you think?
Yeah, I mean, you'll have extremely large institutions that'll have kind of advisory groups, representative groups, whatever you might call them, but they're not the board that does kind of the board work.
I think SpaceX probably just has a dozen people on it.
Right. I mean, it's yeah. So you have these groups that maybe meet quarterly and they have issues that they discuss, and then you might have the actual board that does the kind of nuts and bolts work.
It's just interesting, you know, when we're talking about having a recruiting session for boards, that would be, you know, it'd be interesting to talk to people that might be a huge advocate for what your nonprofit is doing.
Right.
You know, and maybe kind of expand a little bit, you know.
Yeah, and that's, you touched on one of the primary duties of a board member is to be a good advocate for their organization.
Yeah.
You have to have a great understanding of what your organization does, you know, what they need from the community. You know, if our board members aren't advocating for us, you know, who else is going to? So, being that advocate, but also, you know, just being a good servant to the organization, putting the time and effort into what the organization really needs from you, making those commitments, and then when necessary, having those sometimes difficult conversations and difficult decisions, because again, there is no authority in the nonprofit sector higher than the board of directors. So again, I'm employed by my organization as basically the chief executive, but I answer to my all volunteer board. and they can hire or fire me. I can't do anything to them, and so they they take that role seriously.
Interesting. Any final thoughts? If I'm a listener and I'm considering, okay, celebrate nonprofits. I haven't even given any thought to nonprofits. Although, if I were to take inventory, I would probably pick up a dozen different things, different agencies or organizations that I absolutely depend on.
Exactly. And sometimes people don't even think about that. You know, your college, university, your hospital, your church, they're all nonprofits. And so, I would suggest do a little thinking about that. What nonprofits do you use in your life? They can go to celebratenonprofits.com or yournpp.org, which is our website. Look at all the nonprofits that are within our membership that are represented around the city and county.
Over 500, right?
Over
NPPs.
500 members in our, and look at the nonprofits that are there, and they'll recognize a lot of them and the good work, and probably a lot of organizations that they've taken advantage of in the past. And then reach out, make a donation, often offer to volunteer, come to the volunteer fair. Donate to them on Erie Gives. There's a number of ways that just your average person who might not know much about the sector can learn a little bit more and then support the organizations that do the good work.
Beautiful. Adam Bratton, congratulations to the Excellence Award winners. And
congratulations to them. We can't wait until we can celebrate with them and recognize them next Tuesday.
And again, Thursday, the 25th, from 10 to 2 at the Yale Ballroom on the campus of Gannett University, the Career, Volunteer, and Board Service Fair.
Yep. Hope to see everybody there.
Thanks, Adam. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
You got it.
You've been listening to The Joel Natale Show, Erie, Pennsylvania's daily podcast from TalkErie.com. Subscribe to our show on your favorite podcatcher and get involved by emailing Joel@TalkErie.com.